can cross to her now and speak to her in the city of Brest. Hello to you, Valerie. Two-thirds of the world's oceans unprotected. Did this meeting make any progress toward finding a solution?
Well, that remains to be seen. So far, we have heard from several world leaders who were not attending the summit in person, but who have sent video messages. We heard from the president of Tonga and Ivory Coast, for example, highlighting how both nations have vast maritime spaces. They are standing on the front lines of climate change and the degradation of maritime ecosystems, and calling on rich countries to provide more funding, more finance to help them combat the destruction of ocean biodiversity and doing more to protect the oceans. So far, no commitments have been made, but we know that the French government has insisted that this summit will be a summit of commitment. So we will have to wait and see if some of those commitments will be announced later in the day. Emmanuel Macron, the host of the summit, will give a speech in just a few moments where countries will address four main issues here in Brest. First and foremost, the protection of marine ecosystems. So far, 80 countries, a coalition of 80 countries, have agreed to putting 30% of the world's territory, including maritime areas, under increased protection. Perhaps countries will agree to expand that level of protection. They will also discuss illegal fishing, unregulated fishing. We know that every single year, 20 million tons of fish caught illegally is sold on the market, and those illegal practices are pushing species onto the brink of extinction. Also high on the agenda today here in Brest, ocean pollution, and of course plastic pollution. We know as well that 9 million tons of plastics end up in the ocean every single year. Last but not least, they will also be discussing how they can limit the impact of global warming on marine ecosystems and how we can harness the power of the sea actually to help us combat the effects of climate change. As we know that oceans are huge carbon sinks. They absorb 50 times more carbon than the atmosphere. So four main issues that will be addressed during the summit in four separate segments, all of them presided by French President Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah, Valerie, four crucial issues, but no clear solution. I'm curious about Emmanuel Macron's track record. He's been keen to sort of present himself as an environmentally friendly president. How do conservationists see this initiative?
Really, there's a mix of reactions here in Brest. Some have described the summit as an opportunity to put the spotlight on the seas, and something that scientists and conservationists have been saying is long overdue. And the hope is that the summit will be a stepping stone to further negotiations that will be taking place at the UN level later this year. For example, countries are expected to finalize, you mentioned it, a key binding treaty to protect marine ecosystems, marine areas beyond national jurisdictions, because we know that 60% of the oceans are international waters, but we don't have a treaty protecting those areas. Emmanuel Macron just tweeting this morning that we needed to set in place rules governing what happens out there in the high seas. There's also hope that this summit will give momentum to yet another crucial gathering in Nairobi later this month, when countries are expected to finalize a deal on plastic pollution. Others, however, have been pretty critical of the French government and Emmanuel Macron, saying that the president was just using this summit as a way of boosting his green credentials ahead of the presidential election in April. Just this morning, a group of NGOs gathered here in Brest, accusing the French government of trying to boost his green credentials and denouncing the government's blue washing, referring to the phrase green washing. They have also denounced French efforts to pursue the exploration of the deep sea. We know that at the bottom of the oceans, there's critical, essential minerals that could be essential for the manufacturing of technology for the green transition. Now, Emmanuel Macron has said that he's in favor of deep sea exploration, earmarking several million euros in funding for scientific projects. But scientists and conservationists say that this could open up, lead to more deep sea mining, which could have really devastating impacts for marine biodiversity.
All right, Valerie, thank you very much. Valerie Dekimpe reporting from Brest.